The film begins in a remote rural area where a small family lives peacefully and quietly. At that moment, a man named Carter and his wife were seen sitting on the edge of a field, watching their son play happily on the green grass. During the game, their son suddenly trips and falls, causing Carter's wife to worry and ask her husband to clean the field to make it safer for their child. However, Carter, feeling lazy and reluctant to move, refuses his wife's request and prefers to remain seated. The scene then shifts to a cemetery where a family is holding a funeral ceremony. In another part of the cemetery, a young girl named Isabel, accompanied by her uncle named Roger, is also visiting her parents' graves. After praying for her parents, Isabel starts taking pictures of the funeral ceremony conducted by the other family. Suddenly, in the middle of the pastor's sermon, the pastor is suddenly shot by a hitman. The hitman, named Saad, wearing a mask, also shoots the guards and approaches a woman at the scene. Before killing the final victim, Saad removes his mask and explains that he was hired to kill the family and leave evidence behind. After that, Saad buries all his victims, including the weapon he used. However, Saad does not realize that Isabel managed to take pictures of him during his act. Terrified, Isabel quickly leaves the scene and returns to find Roger, who is now looking for her. While searching for Roger, Isabel sees him already confronted by Saad. She then tries to warn Roger, but it's too late. After killing Roger, Saad aims to shoot Isabel, but upon noticing the camera she holds, he decides to chase her instead. A few moments later, Isabel arrives at Carter's house. Upon hearing Isabel's screams, Carter quickly opens his door. But as he steps outside, his leg is shot by Saad. Realizing there is a hitman after Isabel, Carter rushes back inside and prepares a shotgun with 2 shells. When Saad enters the house, Carter immediately shoots him. Both wounded, Carter and Saad remain cautious of each other. Saad then picks up the shotgun shell Carter used and realizes it's a close-range weapon. At the same time, Saad notices a disconnected phone and Carter's cell phone left behind. Seeing this, Saad demands that Carter hand over Isabel, who has seen his face, and in return, he will let Carter go since he only saw him with the mask on. Due to his gunshot wound, Carter urges Saad to make a decision. However, Carter refuses to hand over Isabel. Hearing this, Saad tries to persuade Carter to reconsider his offer given his situation of being alone and unable to call for help. Saad then gave Carter time to think, while Carter instructed Isabel to fetch the first aid kit from the bathroom. After Isabel brought the kit, Carter immediately asked her to pour alcohol on his wound. Carter then began heating a knife to cauterize the wound and stop the bleeding. Meanwhile, Saad found alcohol and did the same to treat his own wound. A few moments later, after tending to his wound, Carter asked Isabel to bring some light bulbs and a towel, where Carter broke the bulbs using the towel and spread the glass shards across the stairs. This was to make it difficult for Saad to climb the stairs if Carter was caught off guard. Seeing the trap, Saad realized that Carter was not just an ordinary villager. On the other hand, Isabel and Carter finally introduced themselves to each other, where Isabel recounted the events leading to her parents' death in an accident. She also described the incident at the funeral where Roger was killed and how she managed to capture Saad's face on camera. After hearing Isabel's story, Carter was reminded of a time in his past when he fell asleep while watching his son. Carter then explained that he only had 1 bullet left and asked for the film in Isabel's camera. He then wrapped the film in plastic and placed it inside a flashlight. Meanwhile, Saad downstairs found some of Carter's boxes. After rummaging through them, he assumed that Carter was planning to move because his family had left him. Saad continued searching the boxes and found a family photo of Carter in a military uniform. Seeing this, Saad revealed that he was also a former soldier and empathized with Carter because he also had a daughter the same age as Isabel who meant everything to him. This was also what compelled Saad to work as a mercenary to support his daughter. Carter, having finished wrapping the film, instructed Isabel to place it in the toilet tank. After that, Carter tried to persuade Saad to return to his daughter, but Saad refused because Isabel had seen his face. Since Carter decided to protect Isabel, Saad threatened to burn down his house to eliminate evidence. However, Carter revealed that he had a secret weapon, a film containing photos of Saad that he stored the film in a fireproof underwater container, ensuring it would survive even if the house burned down. If Saad set the house on fire, the police would find the film, incriminating him. After hearing this, the game began between Carter and Saad. Elsewhere, a junior sheriff named Jerry was on patrol. A few moments later, Jerry found 2 cars abandoned near the cemetery. Meanwhile, to relieve stress, Carter asked Isabel to fetch a beer from the attic. While getting the beer, Isabel found a doll and brought it to Carter. Seeing the doll, Carter was reminded of his son and immediately told Isabel to put the doll back where she found it. On the other hand, Saad, while planning his next move, found a letter belonging to Carter. In the letter, Carter apologized to his wife for his negligence, which led to their son's death. Hearing Saad read the letter aloud, Carter was reminded of his past when his son Sam died after tripping while playing in the field. Since then, Carter has been haunted by guilt for his laziness, which resulted in the death of his only son and his wife leaving him. Knowing this, Saad tried to persuade Carter once again to hand over Isabel, so he could continue lamenting his fate without having to deal with him. But Carter, looking at Isabel, promised he would not surrender her, as he didn't want to repeat his past mistakes. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out. The sound also reached Jerry, who was checking around the cemetery. It turned out Carter and Saad engaged in a psychological battle, discussing who could withstand their injuries longer. Shortly after, the lights began to dim, indicating that the generator in Carter's house was running out of fuel. Therefore, Carter instructed Isabel to leave the house through the window before nightfall while he tried to distract Saad. Elsewhere, Jerry, following the sound of the gunshot, arrived in front of Carter's house, where he attempted to contact headquarters but hesitated. Finally, Jerry decided to check the house alone. When Jerry knocked on the door, Saad was ready and shot through the door, critically wounding him. Shortly after, Isabel, trying to escape, encountered Saad. This forced her to return to Carter, while Saad attempted to shoot her but ran out of ammunition. Because of this, Saad captured Jerry and drove his car into the garage. Isabel saw this and reported it to Carter, who used the situation to his advantage, pointing his shotgun at Saad as he exited the garage. At that moment, Carter threatened Saad to leave his house. However, after a few moments without shooting, Saad realized that Carter likely had only 1 shot left. Therefore, Saad challenged Carter to shoot, while Carter calmly counted down to pressure Saad into leaving. At the final count, Saad turned his gun on Carter, forcing him back inside. A few moments later, Saad brought Jerry inside as a hostage and offered Carter a deal to exchange Isabel's life for him and Jerry's life. Carter immediately refused, prompting Saad to torture Jerry to break his resolve. Using a hammer, Saad began smashing Jerry's fingers one by one. As the result, Jerry's screams mentally tormented Carter. After breaking all of Jerry's fingers, Saad gave Carter another chance to hand over Isabel. Despite the mental torture, Carter refused to surrender Isabel. Eventually, Saad killed Jerry and pushed his body towards Carter. After a while, Saad's footsteps fell silent, making Carter and Isabel even more cautious. They pretended to surrender Isabel to lure Saad out. And Isabel tried to warn that it was a trap, but Carter insisted it was necessary to confirm Saad's location. Before confronting Saad, Carter told Isabel to hide in a room. When Carter reached the lower floor, he found Saad's shoes hanging. He then checked outside and discovered a ladder, indicating that Saad had removed his shoes to silently climb upstairs. At the same time, Saad, now on the roof, made noises that led Isabel to believe Carter had returned. As Saad rushed toward Isabel's hiding place, Carter arrived just in time and without hesitation, shot him. The shot sent Saad crashing down to the first floor, severely injuring his leg. Despite the pain, Saad remained determined to act. In the midst of his suffering, Saad decided to set the house on fire as a last resort. However, while preparing to execute this plan, an idea suddenly struck him. After Saad noticed Carter's phone lying nearby and conceived a new plan that could potentially change the situation. As night fell, Isabel was seen apologizing for dragging Carter into this difficult situation. Meanwhile, Saad was also waiting for someone. Soon after, the person Saad was waiting for arrived, and it turned out to be Carter's wife, Mara. Using Carter's phone, Saad had contacted Mara and lured her to the house. Saad then used Mara as a hostage, demanding to exchange her for Isabel. This enraged Carter even more, but Saad was indifferent to his anger and threatened to harm Mara if he remained stubborn. In the end, Carter decided to give the shotgun to Isabel so she could shoot Saad if he tried to climb the stairs. While Isabel prepared with the weapon in her hands, Carter resolved to save Mara because she was the only family he had left. Carter felt that saving Mara was his top priority since she meant everything to him, and he couldn't bear the thought of losing the last member of his family. When Carter confronted Saad, he tried to resolve the situation, suggesting that Saad go upstairs to meet Isabel, and argued that their conflict should end since he had never seen Saada's face. However, Saad refused to let it go after what Carter had done to him. Saad then removed his mask and immediately shot Carter in the leg. After that, Saad threatened to kill Carter unless Isabel came to him. Forced by the situation, Isabel descended to meet Saad. Once Isabel was downstairs, Carter prepared his knife. Suddenly, the lights flickered, giving Mara a chance to escape from Saad. Seizing the opportunity, Carter attacked Saad with his knife, but Saad fought back, shooting Carter in the stomach. At that moment, Mara tried to get Isabel to leave the house. However, Isabel stayed because she wanted to resolve the issue she had caused. She then quickly called 911 for help and then approached Saad, who was weak and dying. With the shotgun in her hands, Isabel intended to finish off Saad. But as she pulled the trigger, she realized that the shotgun was empty because Carter had already used the 2 bullets. Realizing this, Saad pointed his gun at Isabel, ready to attack. However, in that tense moment, Saad suddenly remembered his daughter. The memory of his daughter moved him deeply. Ultimately, Saad decided to spare Isabel and not shoot. He eventually died from his severe blood loss, leaving Isabel safe. After Saad died, Isabel rushed to Carter, who was on the verge of death. Isabel thought Carter had died, but to her relief, he had survived. The film ends on this cliffhanger, indicating that the story will continue. Moral lesson from the story: if you're too lazy to clean the field, you might end up dealing with a hitman in your living room. So, always clean up your mess before it turns into a crime scene.